Well, hey everybody, this is Rockin' Spirit Jen, and today I'm coming to you with something a little bit different. And I was contemplating what things that I would like to do for more of you out there in the soaping and natural body care world. And I've been throwing around the idea of having, I don't know which day of the week and how I'm going to title it, but it could be called Minute Monday. It could be called Fantastic Facts Friday. So I really haven't set a date, and I'm going to try to do this every week, if not every other week, on a designated day, and hopefully on a specific time so that you all can set your clocks and calendars and notifications to tune in. And so just a little bit about myself, as I am an educator at heart. I'm a student of all things, many things, and I love to learn, and the pursuit of knowledge in areas certainly in the health realm and body care and internal care and spiritual care. So for body, mind, and spirit, I do a tremendous amount of studying over the last 20 to 40 years on various subjects. And for at least the last 15 to 20 plus years, I've been studying body care. I have some children that had eczema early on when they were very young, and I learned very quickly that as an adult and a mother of children that I would have to change the ways that I was raised and maybe the things that I was raised on and do them differently. So I started pursuing knowledge of things that would benefit the body for immune health and internal health and external health. So immediately I went through my home and I removed everything that had chemicals in it, and I decided at that time, 20 plus years ago, that I would have a chemical-free home. So all of the cleansing that I do is with natural products. I don't use disinfectants unless they're essential oil based. I don't use soaps and cleaners unless it's warm water and vinegar, baking soda, things that are made naturally with words that I can clearly see and understand, so they're not chemical formulas that are synthetic. And as a result, my kids grew up with very little skin issues or internal issues. I did not overclean my house because I knew back then the benefits of bacteria in the body. Our body systems run and depend on so many bacteria that are beneficial in your gut and on your skin, and they need to be there because they're soldiers for us. And so I take a lot of responsibility when I create products for you to keep the integrity of the beneficial bacteria externally and internally. And so the body and the skin, being the largest organ, it drinks in things from our environment, things that we put on our body, things we're exposed to. And my philosophy is, if you're exposed to it on a daily basis, it probably would be best to make sure that they're the purest things possible, because you are bringing things into your being that could either make you or break you, so they say, so to speak. And so I just wanted to educate you on something, since you are fellow soapers and body care makers, that I thought you might like. Not everybody's a student, not everybody does the research. There's a fun factor in much of the creation, and it's eye-pleasing and it smells wonderful. But some people may not know the benefits of being very careful and cautious with what they create for the benefit and health of the consumer. And so I just want to share some information about something that I'm passionate about. That's not to say that I have not fallen by the wayside and indulged in some of these in my own body care recipes and soaps, but I make them far and few between, and it is not the canopy for the way that I create broad spectrum. It's a very small, marginal, a very selective time when I use chemicals, and I try not to do that very often, and or it goes against how I promote and package and market my products. So With that being said, what I wanted to talk to you about today is fragrance versus essential oils and the benefits of essential oils over fragrance, both for the mind, body, and spirit. And so because I have alpha-gal, and sometimes I'll get a little personal here in this area, I can tend to get candida overgrowth. And that's because I don't have colonies of the most beneficial bacteria in my gut that deal with candida and keep it in check, as we all have candida in our body and yeast growth, and that's good in and of itself. It belongs there. But it's when you feed that to where it becomes the higher balance in your body and the good balance is less, that's when it becomes a problem. And when you have candida overgrowth, and many people don't know this if they haven't researched it, say you're walking through the store and you're going through the laundry or the fertilizer aisle or even the body care, and it's so overpowering, so strong, and you just feel like I can't get through this fast enough, and you want to hold your breath and go through. Usually and typically that is because you've developed a sensitivity, because your yeast overgrowth is out of balance. And once you become candida overloaded, your body becomes very heightened and very sensitive to artificial smells, first and foremost, things that are chemical, because your body's already bombarded with sensitivities because of the candida overgrowth. You become much more sensitive to taking things internally if they're chemical laden, and externally with fragrances and chemicals that are formulated in a laboratory and don't come from the earth. And so sometimes fragrance is pulling essential elements from the earth, but then they put all kinds of chemicals in them, and they make us more sensitive, more heightened. And I wanted to give you some information on an article that I read not long ago, and I absolutely loved the information. It was concise and short and sweet, but it gave you enough fact that you are empowered to make different choices and decisions if that's what you choose. So I'm not judging anybody here. I think it's great to have the fun factor in life, and things that smell good or look pretty oftentimes come with synthetic and artificial means. And sometimes it's more cost effective, and so for those reasons some people put those in there so that their products stand out. And I've not hidden this from you, that I would rather use less fragrance and have it be oh so subtle in the background than to bring harm to anyone, knowing that their skin and their body's going to take in these chemicals and maybe make them weaker as a result. To me, the downside of that is it's not fun to be weak and to have your body challenged in a way that is overpowering a good, strong, solid constitution. So I wanted just to read this article to you, and then you can have a little bit more information, and maybe you'll make different choices and change some things up in your own body care with that knowledge, and maybe you won't, and that's okay too, because there's room for everything and everyone's desires and passions and what they want to do with their crafting. But this is just a little information on the health side for those who would like to take that information and knowledge in and choose to do something different as a result. So this article is called Scent Savvy, and this came out of one of my magazines that I get free from the health store, and I don't know, it's called Taste for Life. It's the April issue. And so basically it talks about Scent Savvy, choose personal care products free of artificial fragrances. And they give you some things on the labels to look out for. Common cosmetic fragrance allergens are geraniol, eugenol, hydrocitronellol, amyliciminol, cinnamol, isolugonol. That's a mouthful. This is just a few of the hundreds upon thousands of chemicals that are put into our body care that we layer on every day between our cleansing products, our skin nourishing products, moisturizers, lotions, creams, balms, salves. and we put our makeup and our shampoo, our perfumes, our hairsprays, our sun prevention sunscreens. And so women, even more over than men, get exposed to thousands of chemicals that wreak havoc on our immune systems, our endocrine system, our hormonal balance, our well-being emotionally and physically, and whether or not we're strong and we can conquer our day knowing that we got everything done. Sometimes the downfall is the things that we're exposed to, and they actually they halt our progress and the things that we would be able to accomplish because of how they impair our system and our energies and our clear thinking. And most people don't even realize or relate that at all to fragrances and chemicals that we're exposed to. So I'm going to quickly read some of this article. It says, what is fragrance? Fragrance is any substance added to a product to impart a scent or mask an odor, said Alexander Scranton, Director of Science of Research at Women's Voices for the Earth, a non-profit environmental health group. It's commonly listed on products as the generic term fragrance, but it can be a mixture of tens to hundreds of different chemicals. The majority of these chemicals are derived from petroleum. Ensuring their safety is largely up to the fragrance industry, which poses a conflict of interest. What's more, American companies are required to list the chemical makeup of fragrances because they're regarded as trade secrets. So they aren't required to disclose that information to the public because of a trade secret. It's their formulation. However, this stance is slowly shifting. European Union laws require that 26 specific fragrance allergens be disclosed on product labels. And you know, that's the thing with my daughter, is she was getting exposed to chemicals even in child care products, baby products, toddler products that had these chemicals in them, and they were getting eczema and they were breaking out in hives and they were getting asthma and having hard times breathing and having to go for breathing treatments and albuterol and going to the emergency room. And once I put two and two together, when one of my daughters was 2.5 and the other one was 1, and they had eczema so bad and they were itching and they had really kind of rhinoceros elephant skin, and I just did not want those for my girls, and I didn't want them to be faced with lifelong allergies and an impaired immune system. So I quickly changed everything, and as a result it benefited them, and the things that were used on them actually helped to make them stronger and better as a result. It says on product labels, if they're present above certain amounts. Increasingly, American companies are also disclosing these 26 allergens. Scranton noted, in addition, a few large U.S. companies are committing to disclose fragrance ingredients present at or above 0.01% in products. And then it talks about fragrance health risks. Studies suggest 2 to 11% of the general population is allergic to fragrance. However, when the chemicals are tested individually rather than in a mix, a more sensitive method of allergy testing, up to 20% of people are allergic to one or more fragrance ingredients. Notably, up to 3 times more women than men have fragrance allergies. That's probably because we're exposed to much more, because we use many more products on ourselves, because we delight in that and it's fun for us and it makes us feel wonderful and beautiful, so we do that. One possible reason is that women use more personal care products and scented cleaning products, so their exposure is generally higher. And the more exposure that you get, the weaker your system gets. And I think as a result, women's diseases are climbing rapidly, and fibromyalgia being one of them. And fibromyalgia is a stress disorder. It comes from not only stress on our bodies from what we eat, but what we put on our skins, having that candida and hormonal imbalance as a result, the endocrine system being off balance. And also because that is a stress in itself to our bodies, then we get autoimmune diseases such as fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of these things can be tied back to fragrances and chemicals in our cleaning products that make them smell better. car fresheners, house fresheners, things we plug in, candles, scent warmers, burners, all these things. Our soaps. Okay, so we'll carry on. And then it goes on to talk about skin rashes are the most common allergic reaction to these chemicals, Scranton said. And that's where you would get some of your psoriasis and eczema and dermatitis. Fragrance can worsen breathing problems in people with asthma and other chronic lung diseases. Additionally, fragrance triggers symptoms in the majority of people with heightened chemical intolerance called multiple chemical sensitivity. Once you put your body through the ravages of chemical exposure and paired with candida or a weakened immune system, you become more intolerant of chemicals and exposure to chemicals, and then this snowballs the effect. You become more sensitive to many more products that you would normally find to be healthy for the American population. Now you become even sensitive to the good things because of that heightened increase of sensitivity due to overexposure. It talks about fragrance triggers symptoms in majority of people with heightened chemical intolerance. Okay, so some of these manifestations in the body include migraine headaches, nausea, dizziness, difficulty thinking, heart palpitations, or other problems. It may cause MCS, which is the multiple chemical sensitivity, is on the rise and may affect more than 12% of Americans, and I think that is a very modest number. I think many things in our life in this generation, at least over the last 60 years, has been on the rise and increase in a time that we have never seen in past history, when things were done all naturally before the Industrial Revolution, and preservatives, herbicides, pesticides, chemicals, fake additives, things that preserve our products longer, all these things that we're becoming bombarded with, and diseases are here like never before, and new diseases that we never had before. And so it talks about fragrance chemicals may also impact the health of the broader population. We reviewed more than 3,000 chemicals used in fragrance and found cancer-causing chemicals and reproductive toxins, hormone disruptors, and other harmful chemicals, Scranton said. Certainly, many unexplained illnesses occur. Whether fragrance is contributing to this is unknown, but of concern. So you have to look at the new practices. What has changed in the last 70 years, and why do we have so many more diseases than were ever in history? And even some of this could be related to heavy metal exposures in these chemicals, and they wreak havoc not only on our brain function and health, but also on our immune system and our hormonal system. It talks about smart shopping. To avoid synthetic fragrances, avoid products with fragrance or perfume in the ingredients list. Natural scents, such as from pure essential oils, are generally listed by the ingredient name rather than a fragrance. Be careful with products labeled unscented. Sometimes unscented means the product doesn't contain fragrance, Scranton said. However, some unscented products contain fragrance intended to mask or neutralize the odor of the other ingredients in the product, even if they're healthful. These chemicals aren't necessarily labeled as fragrances. If you suspect you're reacting to products, report it to the manufacturer and ask what's in their fragrance if they aren't disclosing it, Scranton said. Companies need to hear from the people who buy their products. Calling and voicing concerns about the safety of fragrance ingredients can really make a difference. Then it talks about the sustainability of natural essential oils. And this article is about a 5-minute read, so I'll move through this quickly, but this will be maybe the 10 best minutes in your soaping manufacturing experience. So I wanted to bring this information to you. With the growth of an industry dependent on natural resources comes challenges, and the rapid boom in the United States of essential oils during the past decade has sparked concerns over sustainable sourcing. Securing a supply chain can definitely be challenging for an essential oil broker, retailer, or product manufacturer, such as ourselves. Circumstances beyond the growers or wild harvesters' control, climate conditions, Pestilence or disease, labor availability, and civil unrest all add layers of complexity and can lead to supply shortages. And you know that if you work with multi-level companies such as doTERRA and Young Living, some products you can only harvest the base ingredients at certain times of the year in certain countries, and they make everything that they can, and once that is depleted they have to wait another year or sometimes multiple years. So sometimes that can take multiple years before those resources come back into play again. And that's not to mention all the other uses that those actual plant matters are used in other forms of products that are made today, not just essential oils. So the booming market of essential oils is depleting some of our natural resources for those core staple products that might be used in other things, culinary or so on and so on. So we do have to be responsible to how much is getting put into essential oils so that we leave seeds and plants to continue repopulating, to be benefited in nature amongst the other animals, because God put everything here, not just for human consumption, but also for the animals and for the insects. So we need to leave a certain amount around to keep them going and thriving. Otherwise, we talk about genetic modification, where now they are sourcing these from modified means. You're back in the lab, you're back with man, infiltrating what is natural to make something happen. So it's a supply and demand, and it is for the almighty dollar. So sustainability is important, and I think even people agree with that with palm oil and other oils that can be depleting the natural resources on things that take decades to create, even peat moss, things that we use, worms. We are very responsible with how much we use because there's only a certain amount of resource and it takes hundreds of years to create. And so if you are using a large percentage of this product, it's not sustainable and the earth can't reproduce it. So we have to be very responsible and careful and cautious and use things that are more sustainable or ones that are sustainably harvested so that we know we're not depleting a resource that deserves to be here on the planet because it has a purpose and a plan and is very needed and vital to the eco environment and to the biological environment within the human beings and the living matter. Okay, so we'll continue on with the essential oils. It talks about, I sometimes hear the argument that essential oils waste natural resources because they require too much plant material compared to other herb-based products. Well, this gal begs to differ. Its highly concentrated essential oils are used properly. They can be both environmentally sustainable and economical. Granted, 1 drop of essential oil does represent a lot of plant material, so use that precious drop while understanding and honoring its potency. Always remember with aromatherapy, more is not better. Don't use 20 drops of peppermint in a revitalizing foot bath when 5 to 10 will suffice, nor 4 drops of lavender on a mosquito bite when 1 drop will do the job. Lower dilutions are not only economical, but safer for the skin too. And so even with essential oils, sometimes I see people putting bottles full, 3 ounces of essential oils. I'm venturing to say they're not pure. They've got to be cut because you could kill somebody in a bar of soap. If you're making 10 bars of soap or 8 bars of soap with 3 ounces of pure essential oils, that is toxic. The body will drink it and it's very hard on the kidneys, the liver, the organs can't tolerate that. It's much more than you need. And that's why I'd like, for my products, very little in the background because the experience is important. It makes you feel good, but not at the health of the consumer. Cleaning the body in a good, efficient way that doesn't strip the ecology that's on the body with the natural living matter that's on the skin, the different bacteria that are living there to keep us safe and to protect things from entering the skin once we get wounded, when we keep all those beautiful parasites and things on our skin that are good and the good bacteria They are soldiers from incoming invaders, and so you don't want to strip those away either, or you don't have a defender, and it's much more susceptible to disease entering the body through the bloodstream and broken tissue. And we don't want to dry out or cause rashes, because then again, they're more vulnerable as a consumer when they're putting products on that are causing them to crack and chafe and itch, and then they're scratching and they're introducing bacteria from their fingernails and scratching their skin because of these synthetic compounds that are formulated into our soaps and body care. And that's the great thing about not being big business, is we're not just all about the almighty dollar and the bigger and the better and let's make money and compromise and cut corners and use alternatives. We have the choice of going smaller batch and paying a little bit more, and then the consumer might pay a little bit more, but they're going to get such a greater reward in the long haul. When they're 50, 60, 70, and 80, and they're actually a healthy, aging, elderly person. The geriatrics of the former generation are not as sick as the ones that are going to be upcoming from the baby boomers on, once the Industrial Revolution started and compromises started, and disservice to the American people. And our generation, I think, is going to have some diseases that overpower and are very difficult to grow old with, and it's going to be very costly. Okay, so I'm going to read the rest of this. Certain essential oils such as Indian sandalwood, agarwood, and rosewood continue to be unsustainably produced from dwindling resources. Professional aromatherapy organizations and responsible aromatherapists do not support the continued use of essential oils from threatened species, especially when there are viable alternatives. Also worth watching are frankincense and myrrh, as they are in great demand but are collected from limited resources in an area of the world that tends to suffer from severe drought conditions. These 5 highly sought after and valuable essential oils in particular are often subject to illegal poaching and trade, as they bring big bucks to the shady harvester. It is your right, and I believe your duty, to ask your suppliers about their sustainability policies and where they obtain their oils. Consumer dollars speak loudly, and your purchases influence decisions that directly and indirectly impact our environment, as well as economical and social policies. So I encourage you to ask questions and let your suppliers know that you are concerned about these vital issues. So I think this is a terrific article, and even a reminder to myself to continue down the path that I'm doing, so that the whole world gets to benefit from these products being around for generations to come. And yes, I won't have the most fragrant smelling products, but I will have safe, friendly, honorable products for your body and for the sustainability of the plants that share this world with us. And a little bit goes a long way. So know it's in my products. Know that there's something in there that is going to help make a stronger, healthier person out of you. And although you may not smell it, it's in there doing its work. It's maybe covert, but it's loving your body, and that's how I'm choosing to love you through my body care creations. So with that, God bless, make it a great day. If you like this video and want more of these kinds of videos, educating you and bringing you truth and studies, scientific, anecdotal, tried and true, folklore, all these great information that we can glean from generations and generations, dating thousands of years past, and being responsible to make sure that they last in our environment for hundreds to thousands of years to come. However long we get to be part of this world and enjoy the benefits, we want to pay it forward and allow future generations to have the same benefits, not just for body care, but for all over health care, because going back to nature is the most powerful way to treat any condition that has evolved and come into our generations to date. There's nothing better than tried and true abundance from the earth. God created, God purposed with an intent to keep us healthy, strong, and thriving human beings. So with that, this is Jen, aka Sopna with Rockin' Spirit Creations. God bless, make it a great day. Please subscribe to my channel, tell others about it, leave a comment on someone else's. Give this a big thumbs up and visit my website, rockinspiritcreations.com, and my Etsy store, Rockin' Spirit. I'll see you on the next video.